On Reddit, a user by the name of God Roger claims to have the leaks for the finale of One Piece, which covers ELBAF, an IMU flashback and the final war. He shared these alleged spoilers with the community over a month ago, but is only now gaining attention. Everything stated in his posts do seem to have a chance of happening, but some brush it all off as headcanon. These alleged spoilers are broken up into multiple parts in a Reddit thread, and I will be covering them all today. Part 1. In Chapter 1100 and above, Luffy will go back to the past, 900 years and 9 months ago. He is able to do this by combining his devil fruit, the Nika Nika no Mi, Bonnie's devil fruit, and Frankie's devil fruit. The reason why Frankie has a DF now is because Kuma sacrifices his life to save Bonnie. The three combine their fruit, making a new power. Vegapunk says that is true awakening, referring to Devil Fruit awakening. Luffy will meet two brothers who are young versions of Imu-sama and Joy-Boy, who are both princes. Imu is the older brother and Joy-Boy's real name is Prince Diraz. Diraz is known as the Monkey, and Imu is known as the Wise One. Imu is secretly working with 20 nations to set up a coup to steal the crown because Joy-Boy will be the next heir. Part 2. 3 and 4. The Kingdom of Laugh-Tale, aka the Ancient Kingdom, is massive. The continent in which this kingdom governs spans across nearly half of the world. It includes current places like ELBAF, Wano, all the way to Whiskey Peak. The leaker then goes on to add that the kingdom may not be that big after all. Roadstar Island is not part of this kingdom, but is a place where you need to pass through in order to reach the capital of the kingdom. Luffy wandered around but missed meeting 18-year-old Diraz, who is running across the palace trying to catch a rare butterfly. Both of their silhouette look very similar. Main difference is Diraz has a scar on the opposite eye. Imu and Luffy sensed each other's presence, and Imu was shocked because this is the first time he heard two similar heartbeats. One of the chapters will be called, "I'm Sorry." It is said by Luffy to Diraz. Diraz is the user of the Nika Nika no Mi from 900 years ago. Chapter 1067 will be the last time Dragon and Ivankov see Kuma. These are the last words Luffy said before getting pulled back to the future. The helmet that Luffy was wearing, similar design as the robots guarding the palace, at this point dropped. Imu didn't see Luffy's face but saw the straw hat that was hidden in the helmet. Back to the present, Room of Flowers. Imu remembers the first time he sees young Shanks wearing a straw hat, and being sure that he is the man he saw talking to Diraz 900 years ago. Parts 5, 6, 7 and 8. The next island is ELBAF. The main theme in ELBAF is basically fable. As many of you know, fable spelled backwards is ELBAF. The fable lore drop here is where almost all questions in One Piece world will be answered. This is the true base of the Special Science Group, unknown faction from the Navy SSG we have seen so far. It consists of many fruit users training and awakening their power. Luffy meets Dragon. Vegapunk gives Kuma's memory chip to Bonnie. Vegapunk's brain is now parked on Dragon's ship. Robin meets Saul. Luffy meets King Loki, who recently became the king from his grandfather. No news about Loki's father, but Loki mentioned that he has been missing for 60 years. A little bit more on what happened to the Ancient Kingdom. Uranus is a spaceship capable of traveling to the moon. However, it is a weaponized spaceship capable of mass destruction, and it uses electricity as the main energy source. Vegapunk's current technology uses only heat energy. Uranus was used on the Ancient Kingdom 900 years ago. It was not enough to destroy the Ancient Kingdom, although the kingdom got fragmented. However, the impact destroyed the frozen ice, which was like a dam holding onto an immense amount of fresh water. The destroyed ice led to this fresh water being released and water level rose drastically. Many fragmented parts of the ancient kingdom drifted apart and many sank. This is the start of an ice age beginning 900 years ago. Abrupt seasons across the One Piece world started too. The impact of Uranus together with the Great Flood led to Earth materials being ejected to the sky, covering much of the sunlight. The world subsequently experienced a 100 years of winter in darkness. With the help of Agashi, Poseidon from 900 years ago, Noah carrying important relics from the ancient kingdom were taken away to be hidden to the Fishman Island. One of items is the apology letter from Diras for being unable to keep his promise to Agashi. He speaks to Agashi and that he is sorry, and to let her know that in 900 years, a man will appear and fulfill that promise. The promise to let her people see and feel the warmth of the sun. Parts 9, 10, 11 and 12. Zunisha is 100 years old now. He is one of the guardians of the ancient kingdom. His master is the Kazuki clan. He is ordered to protect something but he failed to do so. It indirectly led to, the leaker does not say what it led to, because they claims it is a very big spoiler. A devil fruit power was used on Zunisha which caused him to fail. The head of the Kazuki clan ordered Zunisha to never return to Wano. Not for another 1,000 years, more like 900 years. Wano closed its border about 100 years later, after having settled some important events and after being forced to. Around middle of the Void Century, Im got the immortal operation performed on him but after de-aging himself. Joy Boy is defeated. Words begin to spread that in 800 plus years, Nika will re-emerge. The Great Cleansing begins for the next few decades. Poneglyphs begin to spread across the world. Wano is closed. World government is formed. Uranus is kept hidden. Poseidon is no longer around. Pluton went missing after being sank. Creation of the first log pose. This is explained by Vegapunk. Even though the ancient kingdom was a massive supercontinent, different parts of the supercontinent have their own unique earth materials. I think this meant the unique magnetic materials or something, not entirely sure. The area that has the highest density of magnetic material is Roadstar Island. In the past, when water flows downstream from Roadstar, some of the materials flow downstream as well. The land area of the supercontinent nearest to Roadstar thus received the highest deposit density of the material Earth materials, while the farthest end of the supercontinent has the lowest deposit or density. One day, a geographer proposed that by using a magnet, the magnet will always point in the direction of the lower density to the higher density. People will be able to travel the whole place without getting lost. Thus the first log pose is formed. This is why the islands furthest away from Roadstar Island only need one compass to travel to the next island, while the islands nearer and nearer to Roadstar need 3 compasses. The hidden treasure at Mariéjois. But let's go back to the dark winter that lasted 100 years, 900 years ago. During the 100 years, many allies of Diras were hunted down and eliminated across the different fragmented lands. Similarly, many allies of the 20 nations were eliminated too. There were too many dead casualties on both sides of the war. The bodies were buried, but due to the 100 years of cold winter, the bodies did not decompose. They froze. The bodies of certain individuals were honored in secret and words start to travel. Words reached the ears of Imu and the Great Cleansing lasting almost half a century started. The bodies of these individuals were stolen and stored in the current ice chamber in Mariéjois. But the real secret of Mariéjois is actually a man-made energy source. Something like a battery, but more advanced kind. This energy source is able to generate electricity on its own and is the only way Uranus is able to function. parts 13, 14, 15, 16 and 17. When not in use, the energy source is stored in the ice chamber as well because the coldness helps with preserving the lifespan of the energy source. However, over the millennium, temperature of One Piece world is slowly recovering and is much higher than during the Void Century. The power of the energy source is slowly experiencing power leakage. The last time the ice chamber is restored, again, was by the previous user of the He no Mi. Just when the world government is about to ask Kuzan to freeze the ice chamber, Kuzan is unaware of the energy source but he is aware of the frozen bodies. Kuzan deflected to the world of pirates. Don Flamingo is aware of both the frozen bodies and the purpose of the energy source. The world government now is panicking because the energy source may get depleted over time if the chamber does not get restored soon. Vegapunk is not made aware of this energy source. This knowledge was explicitly kept away from him. The situation at Mariéjois was made worse by Sabo, whose flame at the recent Lively War hastened the melting process. They deemed Sabo as one of the critical individuals that must be eliminated at all cost. The Garusei felt relieved that Sabo is dead at Luluzia. Spoiler: Sabo lives on. Short narrative on the origin of Roadstar Island. Roadstar Island originates from the heavens. It is a celestial body with composition vastly different from those in the One Piece world. The beginning of the Final War. The beginning of the Final War in One Piece is triggered by the clash between two Yonkos, All Fruit users BB Crew versus No Fruit users Red Hair Crew. The leaker gives no details on this because they claim the spoilers are so big it will ruin the weekly reading for us. There will be a somewhat unexpected ally fighting alongside Red Hair Crew midway. There will be deaths. There is something that Shanks said to Buggy a long time ago, it will come true. Immediately after the clash between Blackbeard and Red Hair, we will finally know the lineage of Shanks and his ancestors roll 900 years ago. Note: the clash between BB and RH is in parallel with other clashes as well. It doesn't mean other clashes only start after BB and RH finishes. The time to open Wano's border is finally here. Under the command of Momonosuke, Inuarashi and Nekomamushi set sail to Zou. An relic from the past was shown to Zunisha. A flashback to the history 900 years ago is shown. It revolves around Joy Boy, Kazuki Headmaster, Zunisha, and the relic itself. There will be a touching love story involved. Spoiler: prepare some tissues, you will cry. Spoiler 2. No, the love story is not between Joy Boy and Kazuki Head. Back to present. Zunisha arrives back at Wano and opens the border. His trunk was used to smash the rocks, bounders that surrounds the hull of Wano. Rainwater came pouring down onto the sea below. The Wano from 900 years ago is revealed in all its majestic. Momonosuke addresses his people. The whole history of Wano is revealed, which is recorded in Oden's notebook. With the help of Zunisha, citizens started to head down to the Wano below. Pluton is revealed a few chapters later. It is a majestic warship of mass destruction and it is half buried. Carved onto one side of the warship is a letter written by the Kazuki clan head nearly 900 years ago. Pluton is sank by the Kazuki clan. There are 3 poneglyphs beside Pluton. Blackbeard arrives at Wano. His plan is to steal Pluton for his own use. Pluton cannot be absorbed by Blackbeard's body. Pluton is coated with condensed kairoseki. Navy arrives with Seraphim Kuma, not sure if is the only Seraphim. It is led by Fujitora. Kobe and Helmeppo are present as well. Samurai plus Mink vs BB Crew vs Navy. Fujitora has spoken to Kuzan recently. Back to Mariéjois. Imu is speaking to a man and a woman. They are from the Figalan family. 900 years ago, the Figalans were the ones who initiated Imu to crown himself as the king of the world. Vegapunk joins the revolutionary army. Vegapunk needs Dragon to provide him with some white Den Den Mushi. He is going to create a special breed of grey Den Den Mushi that is able to sync up with his brainwaves. The grey Den Den Mushis will be able to transmit waves to many other Den Den Mushis. Vegapunk has something important to share with the rest of the world. Part 18, 19, 20 and 21. Uranus is a ship that sails the sky. More than 900 years ago, a group of space people sailed down to the blue sea below. Sharing the same descent is another species from the fairy Virv. The space people had shared very close bonds with this species. The species is the ancestor of the people in One Piece we now know as minks. Minks originate from fairy Virv. Before descending, the king of minks told the leader of the minks traveling down to never forget the help they received from the space people. The gift of electricity that saved their whole species. Most importantly, to never forget they have families back here, on fairy Virv, waiting for their return. No matter how long it takes. If they, the minks traveling down, ever miss them, look up to the night sky on a full moon day. That's where their families are, that's where their loved ones are, and that's where their roots began. As a parting gift, a baby Zunisha was given to them to bring down below. Uranus does not originate from Blue Sea, it originates from fairy Virv. Fast forward a few hundred years later. The minks escaped and has been hiding, living on Zunisha ever since the fall of the ancient kingdom. Uranus was stolen by Im and the 20 nations. They call themselves the gods. To symbolize their status, they started wearing air masks, those bubbly thingy they always wear around their bodysuit, and ascend to the top of the red line. Gods always ascend. This is after the ancient war is over. Mariégeois is built. Uranus is hidden in it and only taken out to used when necessary. The Lunarians were once part of the space people who traveled down to Blue Sea. Lunarians are like a branch family as opposed to the main family. An incident caused them to leave and settle on top of the Red Line. Diras had previously traveled to Red Line to persuade the Lunarians to return. They are all friends after all. Back to present. King finally understood something he heard his family once mentioned when he was young. A really short spoiler just for fun. Enel returns. He will play a major role in Vegapunk. Captured. Uranus. Ally. The many theories of Vegapunk. Long time ago, Reverse Mountain did not exist. However, what lies beneath the current Reverse Mountain is a really large sea volcano. Due to the usage of Uranus subsequently during the ancient war, the impact of the bombardment resulted in the sea volcano erupting for many years. Over the years, especially cause of the winter, the lava that splurt out cooled rapidly and a mountain, made of lava rocks formed. Panel shifts to the 3D model of the One Piece world as envisioned by Dr. Clover. The 3D model of the world by Clover shows One Piece world as being the largest celestial body with many moons, revolving around Op world. We finally get to see the other side of the model. There lies the sun. Based on Dr. Clover's theory, not only does the many moons revolve around Op world, the sun itself revolves around Op world too. Vegapunk explains that over the years, he has reached a conclusion different than the one arrived by Dr. Clover. All celestial bodies revolve around the sun. He proudly shows his new 3D model of the One Piece world, the sun being the biggest body now with various other celestial bodies revolving around the sun. He goes on to explain that perhaps without the sun, there could be no hope for us. The sun is what we see, the first thing we wake up to see every day. The sun brings hope. Parts 22, 23, 24, 25 and 26. Panel shifts back to Lava Rock Mountain. Because of the impact of the bombardment, the One Piece world axis tilted ever so slightly. The tilted world resulted in a force being more concentrated in the middle of the Lava Rock Mountain. Over the next few decades, the force resulted in water from all four seas flowing towards, and upwards, the Lava Rock Mountain. The paths taken by the water erode parts of the Lava Rock Mountain and flow down from a fifth pathway. This is the pathway the Straw Hat crew took to enter Grand Line. Over time, this area is known throughout as the Reverse Mountain. As more and more water flows down this fifth pathway, this consistent gust of water pushes aside the surrounding calm belts are thus formed due to the equilibrium reached between the forward flow of this water brushing, pushing against the backward flow of the water from the other four seas. To travel around the world, people no longer can simply cross from one sea to another. They have to make the perilous journey down the Grand Line/New World. Another real short spoiler. At the end of One Piece, there will no longer be any fruit user. Continuing the final war, Fujitora makes a decision. Prior to arriving at Wano, Isho is contacted by Kuzan. Kuzan questions the good and evil of this world. If the Marines and even the world government truly represent all the good that are of this world. In his time away from the Marines, he has traveled to many places and spoke to many people for the past 2 years, something that he was unable to do so when he was a Marine Admiral. Start of one of Kuzan's 3 flashbacks. It seems that there are some truths of this world that the world government is desperately trying to cover up. Kuzan met up with Dragon and learned some of the history of the world. Dragon's tattoos represent events important in his life. Each of the inner squares represent a core, and the outer square represents his conviction to protect the core. The first core is the Ohara incident. End of Kuzan's 3 flashbacks. Kuzan told Isho to always question the world. The worst form of blindness is blindness of the heart, not the eyes. Back to present. Isho questions why the world government decreed that they have to do everything in their power to obtain Pluton. Shichibukai has already been demolished. The strongest legends of the older generation, Whitebeard, Kaido, Big Mom are long gone. This is before Kaido and Big Mom reappears in later chapters. The Seraphims are under their control. The research results of the SSG are in their hands. Why does the world government continuously seek power and leaving deaths everywhere they go? Isho thinks back to the report he heard about Wano and the alliance led by Luffy. He thinks back about Luffy and Dressrosa. Isho decided to protect Pluton and not let the world government get their hands on it. The history of Marine's sword and shield. The shield, aka CP0, main purpose is deterrence and denial. It is to deter the continuation of the ancient kingdom's ideology in denying the freedom of action and knowledge associated with the kingdom. Their secondary purpose is to serve as an early alert system and eliminate all potential dangers, dangerous person even if there is no substantial evidence against them. They are also activated to stand at sidelines of major wars, Dressrosa, Wano, etc., to observe and to report. Gorosei, under the order of Imu, are the ones who directly ordered him to Wano previously. They are also involved in major assassinations across the One Piece world. They have infiltrators in all affiliated countries under the world government. SHIELD members are the ones who assassinated Cobra. SHIELD members are the ones who kidnapped Vivi. Their core value is absolute justice and swift retaliation on all fronts. The Sword is created after SHIELD, as a more aggressive, active faction as opposed to the more passive SHIELD faction. The bad blood between Sword and SHIELD is merely due to competition between both factions, to see which faction has more achievements and which one is more redundant. There will be panels detailing some more details but not very interesting in my opinion. Back to Sword. Their main purpose is punishment, swift, decisive, and devastating offensive action using any and all means. The Sword members are all by referral, for e.g. Sengoku picks X-Drake picks Kobe picks Helmeppo, etc. The SHIELD members are all picked by Marine top bosses, example Sakazuki, and even world government, example Gorosei. Sword members do not believe in absolute justice. The Final War PT. 5. Sword members betrays the Navy and world government. The Navy starts to split into two factions, those who follow absolute justice and those who do not. Another really short spoiler. Frankie's backstory upcoming sooner than you think. Parts 27 and 28. The Man Who Does Not Believe in God. Narrator. 55 years ago, somewhere in North Blue, a kid is born in a war-torn country. Due to the war, the country is left in poverty with not much resources, financially and militarily. The kid's father had died just one day before he was born. There were lots of pillages and murders were rampant around the country. Growing up, the kid is raised by his single mother. Regardless all that is happening, the single mum never fails to do one thing, telling her baby that she loves him and then rocking him to bed, sleep every single night. This continues as the kid grew older. 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, and so on. The kid grew up being bullied and having his things taken by other people. Over time, anger welled up in him. Together with some of the other kids, they started strategizing on how to retaliate and fights ensued for quite a while. The kid and his gang began pillaging from those who once stole from them. Food and water were then shared with people who needed them. The kid believes that justice and kindness should and will always exist in this world, just as his own mum believed in. And if there is no God who can serve justice, then he himself will serve justice instead. For some reason, the people whom this kid shared the food and water with, one day betrayed his trust. These people took turns to hit the kid's mum when he was out. These people were threatened and forced to do so by the people whom the kid had retaliated back against. The mum was left bleeding furiously on the floor. Beside her was a nearly finished knitted dog toy that she wanted to give to the kid. It is now covered in blood red. Carrying his mum to the bed, he reciprocated his mum's love by rocking her on the bed, just as she has always done, as she laid there. After a short while of rocking, the single mum entered into an eternal sleep. From then on, he never believes in the kindness of people. Everything happens for self-interest. He vowed absolute justice and to eliminate all potential sparks of evil, regardless how small the sparks might be. Better to kill 100 innocent people than to let one evil person escape. With his face and body covered with the blood of his mum, he attacked everyone involved. Back to present. Perhaps everything happened for a reason. Seems like God indeed does exist after all. The man, better known as Fleet Admiral of the Marines, Red Dog, Sakazuki, has died. Parts 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34 and 35. Zoro vs. Kizaru Round 2. The Birth of Four Gods. Long time ago, before, at the dawn of the ancient kingdom civilization, the environment was much harsher than present. Across the whole supercontinent, the space people, SPs, saw many blue sea dwellers, BSDs, living in harsh conditions, lack of warmth, lack of food, lack of water, etc. Famines due to drought were common. Diseases were common. Deaths were common. The SPs shared with the BSDs plant seeds from where they came from. The seeds are uniquely found on Fairy Virth. These seeds later grew into many trees that we now call Tree of Adam and Tree of Eve. Over the years, people started to give thanks and at the same time pray under the trees. Life, although slightly better, was still harsh. One day, a special fruit is born. Then the second. Then the third. Then the fourth. They are born directly out of the strongest desires and dreams of the collective people. There is also the backstory, chapter on Haki. Fruit number 1. Ability to create. Fruit number 2. Ability to nurture. Fruit number 3. Ability to sustain. Fruit number 4. Ability to live. The users of these fruits, in time to come, are all known as God of Earth, god of forest, god of rain, and god of sun respectively. The birth of the devils. Over the years, as lives improve drastically, people desire more and more. Greed grew as a result. Then came a period known as the Great Fall. Many fruits started to give weird abilities depending on what the people desires. It is during this period where certain devilish fruit are born. One of them is the ability to destroy. This is later known as Yami Yami no Mi, the birth of the guardians. Subsequently, many guardians were born, such as Akuchi no Makami, for example. A great war ensued. Outcome of the war. 1. The guardians defeated the devils. 2. The four gods defeated the ultimate devil. 3. Yami Yami no Mi is hidden, and many others actually. 4. Ancient kingdom is born. A few hundred years later, a prince of the ancient kingdom, named Diraz, is the user of the Nika fruit. Later known as Joy Boy. The four gods of the current era. God of Sun, Luffy. God of Rain, Dragon. God of Forest, not yet revealed. It is not Green Bull. It is a female. God of Earth, not yet revealed. It is related to Shanks. It is a male from the Figarland family. The devil of the current era, Blackbeard, he will awaken all his fruit power. Imu has the power to command the seas. The first time we see Imu's face will be when the Straw Hat crew reaches Roadstar Island. God of Earth is on Imu's side. With this, Imu has control over the sea, land, and sky. Enel captured plus Uranus. Blackbeard allied up with Imu. Warning: the next spoiler is a major one and will involve a beloved character's death. Proceed at your own risk. Shanks will die at Laughtail. Another short, but heavy, spoiler to start the week off. This will happen much later, at the end of the One Piece manga. About 5 to 10 chapters before the last chapter. Parts 36, 37, 38, 39 and 40. Thousand Sunny. The technology of the Gown cannon is like a baby when compared to that of the Ancient Kingdom's technology. Frankie is sad because Vegapunk laughed at the ship's strongest weapon. With Vegapunk's help, Thousand Sunny undergone a rather major upgrade in its strength. This is further improved using certain aspect from Pluton's blueprint. It is said if a certain unknown fuel or energy source can be used instead, Thousand Sunny might even be able to obliterate a small island. Tony Chopper finally awakens, correctly. Usopp fully masters observation Haki. All Seraphims. None will be able to use Haki. Also, towards the end of the One Piece, Luffy finally experiences swimming for the very first time in his life. Oh. He still ends up drowning, lol. The voice of all things. The ancient robots are connected, guided, to all the people that carries the same blood as the direct descendants of the people from the ancient kingdom. It seems to have something to do with what is now known as lineage factor. And vice versa. This is why different people, objects can sometimes find other people, objects that are related to himself, herself, itself. This is why the ancient robot went to Mariégeois 200 years ago. This is also why Luffy so easily finds the ancient robot. This is also why, in major events around the world, people somehow appear at the right time. This is also why Dragon appeared to save Luffy back at Loguetown. This is known as the voice of all things. Short and maybe not that interesting spoiler. Sanji is next to awaken Conqueror's Haki. On a separate note, since Mads is the cover page for chapter 1070, I'll reveal something that Mads did. The Mads scientists clone many things. Tashigi is cloned from Kuina with the knowledge of Shimotsuki Koshiru. Tashigi is taken away from Koshiru, somewhat willingly, so that she Tashigi, has a chance to live the way she, Kuina, always wanted. The sun, the goodbyes, and the straw hat. Long ago, when sailors set off into the unknown to explore uncharted territories, they always wave back to the families they leave behind at port of their home islands. Slowly, as the ship sails farther and farther, their home island becomes smaller and smaller, disappearing into the horizon. What is left is just the image of the big sun at the far horizon, guiding the sailors into the unknowns with its bright sunlight. Many years later, towards the end of the ancient war, as Diraz and his friends set sail away from their fragmented homeland, Diraz pointed out, "Look at the sun setting down tonight. When the sun rises again from the sea, this is when all of us will be back together again. Families, friends, food, lots of laughter and drinks. Doesn't the sun on the surface of the sea look just like this straw hat that I'm holding?" Since then, the straw hat symbolizes the coming of the dawn. When the dawn comes around again, that millennium-old dream will come true. Parts 41, 42, 43 and 44. Laugh Tale and Goldie. Roger. Upon setting foot on the lost island of Laugh Tale, or what's left of the ancient kingdom, among many things that they saw, one of the things is an ancient, story of the ancient kingdom. From the birth of the civilization there, the people living there, the struggles they faced, the new technologies discovered, and the fall of the civilization. All these are stored in an ancient snail, but is a robotic one. At the end of the recording, as Roger is about to walk away, the recording lit up again. It is the last message recorded by Diraz. Diraz is directly talking to Roger. He spoke of his tales during his travels, and the friends he made. Diraz also spoke of destiny, fate, and dreams that connect people across time. As long as there are people who seeks freedom, as long as there are people who are enslaved, there will be things and people who will be connected, linked. Towards the end of the recording, Roger laughed. However, as he sailed away later, he mentioned to his crew that he is also filled with regrets because he is unable to see a world where freedom is the norm. He wished that he could have lived during Joy Boy's time and shared a sake or two with him. Diraz also mentioned a boy from the future. A boy carrying a straw hat representing the coming of the dawn. He will be the one carrying all the weight of everyone across the 1,000 years, and saving everyone from those who represent the opposite of what freedom truly is. With this in mind, Roger lit up the fire of desire at his execution. Red Leg Zeph and Queen the Plague. Note that this backstory will most likely not be shown in anime or manga. For those who can't remember who they are, Zeph now resides in East Blue, Barati, while Queen resides in Grand Line and is an idiot. They are brothers who grew estranged from each other due to differences in values, with the most prominent difference being that Queen attacks women without any qualms. Their mum's death played a part in them separating from each other during their teenage years. Anyhow, this is the origin of how and why Zeph never hit a woman. And thereafter, passed this value to Sanji. The Fishman Island, the Sea Forest, Joy Boy's Promise, the Tree of Eve, and the end of all devil fruits. 900 years ago, before the destruction of the ancient kingdom as well as before the Great Flood, see Part 7, the sea level was drastically lower. Fishman Island, the Sea Forest. The Sea Forest was originally a land forest 900 years ago. Due to the flooding, sea level rose drastically and consumed the whole of the land that is now known as Fishman Island. Joy Boy's Promise. The promise made by Joy Boy was not to bring the whole Fishman Island up 10,000 feet above to the sun. The promise was to destroy the red line and bring the water level down back to the original level so that the sun directly shines on the people who dwells at the Fishman Island. However, without the right people and right items, Diraz was not able to do so. This is one of the biggest regrets he holds in his heart, for which he apologized to the Poseidon Agashi approximately 800 plus years ago. The Tree of Eve. The Tree of Eve was not originally that tall. However, in the centuries being buried under the sea, it has never died. However, it continuously seek the sunlight, and over nearly 1,000 years of seeking the sun, the Tree of Eve has grown ever so tall. The end of all devil fruits. At the end of One Piece, there will no longer be any devil fruits power. The reason for devil fruit users becoming a hammer and sinking whenever they touch the sea is not because Mother Nature hates them. Edit. What I mean is that the true reason is not as simple as, because Mother Nature hates devil fruits, as per what BP said. Or because of any random, anime logic. The true reason is because of the eternal yearning of the fruits, wanting to return back to the original soil, land that is thousands of feet below the current sea level. All fruit users have an innate yearning to go back to where they are born, an innate intuition that has been lost to time. Note: the leaker excludes talking about the Noah, claiming if they did, they would essentially be writing the whole ending of One Piece. Marshall D. Teach and Monkey D. Luffy. Blackbeard's awakening will not involve absorbing other people's devil fruit powers into his own for his own usage. Blackbeard's ability to use more than one devil fruit power is due to him having more than one heart and blood circulatory system. Each system does not commingle with the other. Luffy will pull Blackbeard into a dreamland, in which both of them will fight in the land of dreams. The battle will end with Blackbeard falling asleep forever. Luffy is the one who will all devil fruit powers back to nature, thereby ceasing all devil fruits forever.